Hey guys, welcome to Employer Branding Summit. Let's take a look at everyone who's here in the room, and it's so happy. It's so great to see all of you engaging in the conversations already. Pär, what do you say about all the organizations present here today?
It's absolutely wonderful to see. It's a list of inspirations for ourselves and our journey. So welcome everyone. Looking forward to having your inputs as well in the chat.
Well, friends and partners, employer branding experts and experienced professionals, welcome to the very first Employer Branding Summit hosted by Oddwork. And my name is Charles Sinclair. I'm head of employer branding, and together with my colleague and friend and CEO Pär and Karimi, we are looking forward to guide you through 90 minutes of inspiration and hands-on knowledge from some of the most proficient and influential employer branding experts that we have ever had the favor to really come across, because the world is a little bit now, isn't it, Pär?
Yeah, it's rocky. It truly is. And it is, the world's rocking in a way that no one of us could have foreseen or prepared for. Or I guess the question is, could we? Are some organizations more prepared or more ready than others for any given challenge? Maybe this is the time when a company's culture must come to its absolute core as the world is in a total lockdown. We are an employer branding company, and in the initial weeks of the COVID-19 crisis, we saw firsthand how organizations close to us chose paths in coming together and getting through the given challenge. And we have been inspired by many. And early, we chose to reach out to our partners and ask them questions about what they need help with right now to improve their ability to get through this, well, let's say, unimaginable situation. And the answer we got back was quite forthright. It was inspiration and information about what other organizations do and have done to prepare for this situation or situations like this. We can assure you that a posted picture of a ping pong table on a social media won't get any organization through a situation like this. However, organizations that have an inside-out approach towards their employee branding strategy and the execution of the very same probably will.
And so today, guys, we will let you listen in to organizations, companies, and thought leaders that have done this successfully. And we will let them tell you about their experiences themselves. We have a really exciting agenda coming up that will hopefully add both insight and knowledge to your own organization's toolbox. We will be listening into Pär from AstraZeneca together with Devin Lincoln, and they will be talking about lightning in a bottle. And I love that expression, lightning in a bottle, how to communicate the organization's why effectively to the candidate market. After that, we are happy to welcome Patrik from Forza Football, and he will be talking about how to create the best place to work. The Forza Football HQ was crowned one of the world's best offices a couple of years ago, so we are really looking forward to getting the insights from one of Europe's most interesting and prominent entrepreneurs. After Patrik, we are looking forward to welcome Maria Nylén and Martina from Blocket. And they will be talking about the value of collaboration between HR and marketing when it comes to creating a strong employer brand. Both of them are senior executives at one of Sweden's most loved brands, and they are on an exciting employer branding journey that we are really looking forward to dive into. And then what, Pär?
At 3 o'clock, we are more than excited to welcome Mr. Svante Randlert, one of the most influential business and people advisors in Northern Europe. Svante who is well known for his talks and who will give his thoughts on how successful leaders build culture. Following Svante, Carl Jacobson from Winning Temp will present the latest employee engagement data from their real-time employee service put through on a weekly basis among hundreds of organizations and thousands of employees.
Our recommendation is to definitely do your homework. Try to do a full inventory of your employer branding, do interviews with your people internally, and just really try to identify the gaps within your story and
the
your
second one,
why.
It's about understanding what the external market wants and, of course, what we have to offer. It's extremely important. And I'm just thinking we haven't had time to talk about that, but we have so many different target groups, of course. Yeah. We're talking a lot about science, but in our case, it's not only about science. It's about engineers, IT, finance, HR, etc. So we need to find these sweet spots and really show what we have to offer.
third one from us is to really follow the heart, use pathos in your communication, try to find the emotion in your why. Why do you go to your workplace every day? And try to package that in a engaging way through films or images or copywritten text, and really try to package this feeling that you get, feeling of pride or just positivity. That's our tips, top 3 tips.
Well, thank you very much, guys. Thank you very much. And we will bring up one of these films, the film with one of your scientists, Hasse, right now. Thank you very much, guys, for taking part in the Employer Branding Summit. And let's bring up the film and see it, and it's rolling out on employer branding campaigns tomorrow.
My passion for science started when I was really young. Yeah, I remember that we were walking out in the forest a lot. I became curious about especially flowers and the molecules, because some of them I know could be used as medicines. Yeah, I've been with this company for 16 years. The feeling is that it has been a really quick and really enthusiastic journey. And the reason for it is that you wake up and go to work and meet these wonderful colleagues. They're really bright, and we are always interested in learning more, and the scientific field is growing. You learn something new every day. That's a great feeling. So what we do in process chemistry is that we create that drug substance on a scale that you can actually hold in your hands. I know people that are affected by a life-changing disease. Who knows, someday it could be someone really close to you, friend or family, that needs a medicine to live their lives. I know that the work I do is really helping these people. My name is Hasse Emtenas. I'm an associate principal scientist, and I work at AstraZeneca.
Thank you, Charlie. Thank you, Devin. Thank you, Pär. And our next guest founded one of the world's most used football apps, Forza Football, in 2012. And they've had over 2 million monthly users. That is pre-corona. With a set goal of creating one of the world's best workplaces from the very start, Forza Football has become worldwide famous for their culture, which included the award the world's best office in 2015. Then, from one day to another, the world stopped, and so did all the football matches with live updated scores in their world popular app. So how does one recover from that? And especially, how do you keep the focus on culture and that goal in times like this? Welcome to the Employer Branding Summit, Patrik. There you are. Wonderful glasses. How are you?
I'm very well. I was just out exercising, and I got back to the office. Like, are we the best workplace according to the people working here? Then we have succeeded. I don't care about if my grandmother thinks we are the best workplace or not. It's just about the people working here, basically. Let's pay everyone to quit this company. Everyone. Single individual. Yeah, everyone. So we basically booked a whole all-hands meeting. I told everyone what I felt and what I've heard everyone felt as well. And I said, we think we need to do some changes here, and we will pay everyone to quit this company. You will get 6 months payment if you have worked for longer than 3 years. You will get 5 months if you have worked less than 4 years, and so on and so on. So it was like you got like 4 to 6 months payment if you left the company, and it was directed to all employees. And of course, like, we had an idea on which people we thought should leave the company because they needed other challenges. So we had like a list in our mind, we had like 20 people in our mind that we wanted to leave the company. And we had this meeting, and then 18 out of the 20 people who we wanted to leave the company took this package and decided to quit the company. And this was a really, really big eye-opener for me, because I never thought that would happen, because you think like, we think like this, but the employees, they think like this. But if you just make it easy to quit, and if you just, if you feel something is wrong, the counterpart, your employee, your team member will feel something is wrong as well. So how do you make it easy for people to quit? I think that is a really, really important question to ask yourself.
How many did you lose that you really didn't want to?
Two people. And we were like, so it was 20 people who took the package and 18 we wanted. But then the two people who we didn't want to quit, we were like, now we want them to quit because they took the package, you know. They were not passionate enough. We thought they were passionate, but they were not. So I would say 20 out of 20 is the answer. And it's like, so we didn't do any layoffs. We didn't have to involve the union, anything, because there was no layoffs. And actually the crazy thing that was that the union made like the union made like visited our office, just random visit to our office. And the same day as everyone would take their decision, they got 1 week to think about it. And this union guy did interviews with people, with employees during this day. And I was like, oh, this is interesting, because we haven't contacted the union, because we don't see this as layoffs. This is 100% like package directed to anyone in the company. And he did like these interviews with 7 different employees. And then he called at the end of the day, and I was like, oh, this will be interesting what he says now. And he's like, you know, Patrik, I talked to your employees, and there's so much things you're doing for your employees that you didn't tell me about. You know, I'm so impressed with your workplace. It's you know, it's a really great workplace you're running. And you know, having that visit, if I could wish for any day when the union should visit my office, it was not that day. That was the worst day during our 10 years of existence, you know. But still, he called me the same day and, you know, congratulated me for such a great workplace. And I think that is, you know, that was a very proud moment, because then I could assure that we handled that in a really, really good way as well.
Your top 2 recommendations to leave our attendees with.
So the first recommendation is transparency. So as I told you, when I felt something was wrong, you know, book that all hands meeting and say, you know, I feel something is wrong, and I believe you feel something is wrong as well. And that, you know, really people like to hear that. And same thing with, you know, with the COVID-19 situation, when I told them, you know, football will never be stopped. Exactly, doing exactly that as well. You know, that was completely wrong of me. You know, I'm very sorry, and you know, I regret everything I just said last week. And now we have a different situation. So that's the first thing, like transparency or transparent communication. Same during COVID-19, we had weekly meetings every week, because that was, of course, a very uncertain time for our employees. So every Monday we had an all hands meeting with everyone. You know, the leadership said, this is what we know, this is what we don't know, this is what we want you to think about, this is what we want you to not think about, and so on. So that's the first thing. And the second thing is hiring and firing. Like, you know, as I said, we have been super, super bad at firing people. Now we have become much, much better since we did this the last time, or firing. I don't like that word, but, you know, separate ways with team members, basically. And hiring, we are pretty good at, and you know, I'm happy to share that process in more detail. So that's the second recommendation. The first thing we talked about as well, like purpose. Like, our mission is to make the world of football available and available for everyone, and make the world of football a better place, because we think there's a lot of improvements to make in the world of football. And this has been a really valuable part for us, especially in the hiring process. We run like a football academy in Cambodia, where we teach 2,000 kids every week football, and so on. And many people have said, you know, the main reason why I decided to go with the Forza was because of your academy. Like, such a small thing we do, and you know, it's a small investment for us to do that, but these have been like the main thing why people go to work with us. So I think purpose is really, really, really key. And I think you know, the people from AstraZeneca really.
Patrik, thank you so much for your time today, and for sharing so openly with us. I see in the chat that it's been much appreciated as well. We speak soon again. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much,
Patrik. All the best. Cheers, man. Cheers. All right, guys. Really brave move by Patrik, obviously. Really interesting talk as well. So, Pär, we'll move on to our next guest here today. And so, guys, founded in 1996, the Swedish online marketplace Blocket has really cemented itself as a core part of the Swedish culture itself, if you will. And with over 98% brand recognition within the Swedish population, everyone knows what they do, but do everyone know who they are? Blocket is on a really exciting employer branding journey. They are adding a why, a soul, and a persona to the loved and well-known consumer brand. And this journey is a joint venture between marketing and HR, and well, two islands that have historically been miles apart in many organizations. However, with employer branding, they must cooperate and find a way to get together. And Maria Nylén, who's Chief People and Culture Officer, and Martina Jönsson, Chief Marketing and Customer Officer, they know all about how that is done. Hey guys, welcome to Employer Branding Summit.
Thank you very much.
So great to see you. And I mean, let's just dive straight into it because this is really fascinating. So you've explained how HR and marketing really have to come together to create an employer branding love affair. So how did you guys start to collaborate, and how was that first date, if you will?
Yeah, I think it was actually me asking Martina out on the very first date. So, and at least I think it was a huge success. So I'm totally convinced that the employer brand of a company such as Blocket needs to be totally linked to the business brand. Otherwise, they might be perceived as not singing in harmony, and that will confuse the current Blocketeers, but also the future ones. Yeah. So we believe in to be true to ourselves and our company and the values. And Martina and the team are the experts on our brands. And also how to communicate these to different markets. So to me, it was pretty obvious that we needed to do this together.
Yeah, and I can add to that. I think the first date was a really successful one. It was, this feeling of complete in being natural and uncomplicated, and like this is it. And besides that, Maria is a great person, and we also share the same view of the employer brand must be linked to the business brand, and that there can only be one story to tell, but to different target groups. So, for instance, we tell our story in one way to our private customers, in a slightly different way to our B2B customers, and yet in another way to the candidate market. But they're all based on the same foundation. And I think this is the two most important ingredients in a good date, so to say, that we have a common view and that we share the same values. But in a more general manner, I would guess that the view on the employer brand versus business brand can be a challenge. And if you don't share that view, I think it's really difficult to succeed. And also, I think a company has to have a clear purpose, a clear vision, and clear values to really build the story and foundation upon.
Yeah. What would you say, Maria, to that? Would you agree on that, or do you have another perspective?
No, I think it started with me and Martina trusting each other and also working very good together. And I think that's obvious to the teams. And even though we are at the beginning of a collaboration, I think it's worked very well from day one. And I think it's about sharing the overall vision and contributing with the expertise from the different teams.
And also, we do understand, we have to ask you this because we know that you guys have really come up with some incredibly creative solutions when it comes to culture during these weeks. Can you let us know about that? We have Blocket Cribs, I know, for example. What other fun things are there to know? Because you have almost written a cultural book on this, if we understand it correctly.
We have written a work from home playbook, remote work playbook.
Well, tell us about that. It's so interesting to hear that.
Should I go, Martina?
Yeah, you go.
After 2 days at home, we sort of released its Blocket remote working playbook. It was all about how to do this in a motivational, inspiring, and functional way. Yep. So sending the company home and then getting all stuff up and running Blocket remote was sort of a challenge, but I had a lot of people with experience working remotely. So we had this team, and they became our Blocket remote working experts, and we created this playbook, and it's about how do everything work, like technically, which web video conference system to use, or how do information flows in within Blocket, but also about how do we take care of each other, how do we continue to build our Blocket culture and live our values during this period of time. So we have a lot of social initiatives about game nights, about a social map where everybody can land where you live and meet up for a lunch or a break, so keeping social distancing, of course, but even though keeping in touch with your colleagues and all of the rest of the Blocketeers. So we had this book released after 2 days. The last week we had this team join together, and then we just launched the second version of that playbook.
We put a lot of more stuff into it, and also we have put a lot of focus on the well-being side of working from home and working remote, and also we have, really helped our employees to find each other, to socialize with each other, and also to meet up in a secure way.
And really interesting. Well, thank you for that. Do you see that we have a question? Just a quick reply from you guys. Is it possible to find that playbook somewhere? Is it possible to download it?
We have a version that we've been distributing to some of our customers, so that will be possible.
Okay. We'll send it to you, Charles, and then you can distribute it to those who want. Yeah?
Exactly. That's great, guys. Okay, so really interesting on your really effective collaboration then between HR and marketing. So just listening in to just your top 3 recommendations on this for the rest of the guests in this room, what would you say? What are your top 3?
Well, the first one is to share the vision on where you're heading. If the vision is clear, it's much easier to build trust and relationship between the functions.
Yep. Great.
Yeah, and the second one would be clarify the ownership of the employer brand, who owns it and who's the final decision maker. And no prestige and no egos. Do what's best for the company and the employer brand long term.
Treat the employer brand as all other brands in the portfolio and have the right competences to do the right things.
Yeah.
People and culture, or HR, knows the employees and the talent market, and marketing knows how to communicate in the best possible way. Thank you. That was it.
Thank you very much, guys, for giving us your insights. Thank you so much.
Our next guest is one of Sweden's most influential and prominent leadership coaches. With bad leadership, there cannot be a good employer brand, as easy and frank as it is true. The words are not mine. They belong to Svante Randlert. He's a writer. He's a podcast host. He's a lecturer. But most of all, I would say that he's a wonderful inspiration and visionary, often sketching out the future of work in a simple and very, very comprehensible way. Svante, welcome to the Employer Branding Summit. Let's see if the technology is with me with this guest too. Welcome, Svante. How are you?
Can you hear me?
I hear you. Do you hear me?
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you for the nice word. I was humble over here.
And Friends Arena yesterday with 20,000 attendees. Employer Branding Summit today with 350. You're a busy man.
Yeah, but this is the main event. Yesterday was just a pre-event.
Of course, obviously.
Yeah.
I know that you have over 170 lectures yearly all over Europe, and you often talk about your tight schedule when we talk. How has the last 3 months been?
I think for everyone, it's been quite chaotic. It started really shaky, but now after a couple of weeks, I think it's more stable. And my industry, I believe, is actually under reproduction. But now it's more stable. This week, I have lectures every day. Yesterday, France. Today, this. Friday, a lecture in France. So the target group are the same, the messages are the same, but the channels are different. The how part is totally reproduced.
Let's go straight to the point. Your view on leadership. Why is it central, and what makes the difference between great leaders and let's call them not so great?
I believe that everything starts and ends with leadership. Employer branding is actually never the goal. It's the way to reach the goal. And the goal is always to reach our targets, like we should raise our turnover or market share or actually the profit. And what I see in studies is the companies with the highest raise of turnover, market share, and profit are only one thing. it all comes down to leadership. Great leadership, great results. Bad leadership, bad results. So everything starts and ends with leaderships.
Having met hundreds and hundreds of companies all over Europe, what is the common denominator in great employer brands? Is it leadership?
Yeah, it is. And you know, in Sweden, I have a podcast and I meet a lot of successful leaders. And it's so fun. It's so interesting. It's the core, the sum of all thing is down to people. You know, those leaders who has been most successful, they are people-driven persons. So everything starts and ends with relationship. And those great leaders, they believe it all starts and ends with relationship between people. So the expression P2P is the core. I think we should challenge the expression B2B, like business to business or business consumer, because everything, the business is between people and also relationships. I'm honored because I had Simon Sinek in my podcast, and he told me some fantastic thing, that every organization would like to have people take care of the organization. But his expression is, no one in the organization will take care of the organization if we don't take care of the people in the organization. Employer branding for me is the consequence. It's never the cause. Causes creates effect, consequence. And if employer brand is the consequence, employee brand are the core cause. You will never have a great employer brand if you have a bad employee brand. And what I mean by that, let's go for other industries. Pär, have you booked an hotel at hotels.com or bookings.com lately?
Not lately, but I've done it a lot before the Corona crisis.
And when you did that, did you listen and read what the hotels are saying or what the guests are saying?
Well, what the guests were saying.
Of course. And you know, 9 out of 10 customers do the same. We listen what the guests are saying about the hotel. Why do we believe that's the opposite in recruitment? Because actually what the hotels are writing on hotels.com, that's maybe your career page. And what the guests are saying at hotels.com, that's what your employees are saying. Your potential, your current, and your past. And the sum of their experience are your employee brand. And if your employer tells this to your company, if your employees after 2 glasses of wine at a Saturday night say that about your company, you will have employer brand like that. So employer brand is the consequence from the cause employee brand.
I will print screen that picture right there and use
Did
it
you get that one?
as the ad.
Sorry for my tone, but
thank you for
I would like to be clear.
Thank you for your honesty. You were very clear. And I think the hotel example just sets it as clear as it can be. Thank you for being so frank with us. Thank you. Just finishing our talk today. We could go on for hours as well, but your 3 top recommendations for our audience today.
I think it's the sum what I said. So to be clear and short, people to people. Work with more relationship. I believe employer branding right now is too much about activities and campaigns. Go from activity and campaign to relationship, people to people. The other one is leadership. It starts and ends with leadership. You can be a fantastic employer branding director, but if you have 100 or maybe 1,000 or 10,000 leaders who are not doing their job, you will never succeed with your work. And the third part is actually employee branding. If you have a great employee brand, you will become a great employee brand.
Svante, it is always a pleasure. Thank you very much for your thoughts, for your inspiration, and for all the added value into the Employer Branding Summit. We will speak soon again.
Thanks, Pär, for having me. Thank you. I'm grateful.
Okay, guys, we're headed into our last talk of the day, and we're going to welcome Carl Jacobson from Winning Temp. Just to give you some background, imagine this. Once a year, on a given date, you visit the doctor. You can only visit the doctor on this specific date throughout the whole year. And on this date, you feel fine. It is the 27th of May, and to be frank, you really don't feel that you need to go. Nevertheless, you go. Well, why? Well, because that's how it's always been done. Every year on the 27th of May, you go visit the doctor regardless of how you feel. The doctor examines you and tells you that you are all fine. And you leave to meet him or her again in a year. Now, does that mean that the diagnosis will be correct for every given day for the rest of that year? Of course not. Would it not be better if you visited the doctor when you actually feel the need to, or at least that you monitor your health more often? Of course it would, and that is how it works in reality with doctors and healthcare. But that is not how employee surveys tend to work. In most organizations, once a year, you on a given and a specific date, organizations send out a questionnaire to all their employees. A couple of weeks later, they get the results. A result that is likely to have changed only in those couple of weeks. So why do we do this? Well, we won't anymore. Instead, proactive organizations do real-time employee surveys sent out weekly or monthly from an app such as Winning Temp. Winning Temp offers real-time employee engagement data that allows organizations to monitor their organization's well-being in real time. Let us just show you an example of how Oddwork's current state was as of an hour ago, 2 hours ago at 1 p.m. Leadership up to the left, scoring 8.4 out of 10, a little bit lower on the joy of work right now, 6.9. And when I dived into those answers, a lot of those negative answers had to do with the current situation, our office being mainly closed, everyone sitting at home, and other situations that have occurred during the ongoing crisis. But this gives us a full insight of exactly where we are today. With hundreds of companies and thousands of employees in their using their system today, Winning Temp can also, of course, tell us the trends and the insights from their big data. And that is what they are here to do today. We are very, very glad to welcome the Vice President of their Customer Success, Carl Jacobson. Carl, welcome. Hello, Carl. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I can hear you. Wonderful to see you.
Perfect.
The key insights on employee engagement that you saw pre-corona, how have those changed during the last month?
Well, first of all, thank you for having us, Poyan and Oddwork, and I've been glad to follow the other speakers here during the day, and we'll confirm some of the findings from them in the data we have found. So going back to your question, when we looked at the data pre-corona, it says pretty much, things that we've heard before, things like leadership, meaningfulness, autonomy is important cornerstones to have for have a strong ENPS and employer brand. And when it comes to the current situation, and what we've done previously now is to look into the COVID-19 situation. So as you said, we've looked into hundred thousands of employee users findings and the answers we're getting from them, and also used like a breaking point here that has been sort of pretty much 1 week after we got some guidelines from the Swedish Public Health Authority. So we look to pretty much see what has affected during the corona and how has that changed previously to what it were 3 months before corona. So and the result is a bit surprising, at least to us. So overall, we have seen that employees' psychosocial experience at work during the last 2 months has actually gone up and developed to a more positive direction compared to the 3 months before corona. And we looked, of course, a bit deeper into that. But in general, what this means is people actually seems to feel better at work and have more fun. so job satisfaction and joyfulness and these kind of questions is actually going up. So that's quite sort of big question marks, because there's a lot of anxiety around a crisis situation that's going on. So we also digged into sort of specific factors, and we've seen sort of factors like stress, workload, meaningfulness, autonomy, for example, have had quite significant changes during this period. And some early reflections that we've done is to look into some of the companies that we have seen sort of taking a quick communication. So back to some of the, like what Block were saying, that they have been also awarded quite positively. That's what we've seen, that companies that were quick on the decision making, clear in the communication, and also have shown trust to their employees, they've also been awarded quite good in the employee data.
Your top 3 recommendations on the subject.
So, I mean, my top 3, just shortly, I had one more thing to mention here, because I've seen some of the things that come from interesting decisions from Twitter and Facebooks and these kind of companies that have been quite early on giving some new sort of recommendations in remote working, and both for their current employees, but also future employees. And it just goes in line with the data. So, I mean, we see that trust, communication, and for example, is very important. And by giving sort of the employees and the future employees, showing them that we have trust in you, and you will be able to sort of work in your own pace or from remote workplaces, is quite. It shows that they're doing the right things, and maybe their decision is based on data. About the sort of top 3 recommendations, I think, coming back to what the data says here, I've heard, for example, fantastic initiative from Patrik at Forza Football, but dare to take decisions. So I think in crisis like this, you need to take decision. Svante was into that as well, and take quick decision. So dare to take the decision, communicate the decisions, and show trust in your employees to follow these decisions. I think that would sort of back up what the data says. So if you can do that, you will have a great future.
Thank you so much, Carl. Thank you for sharing from your insights. I'm absolutely sure that it's much appreciated among the attendees as well. Thank you very much for taking part today, Carl. And I'm absolutely sure that we will check in again in the future to follow up both monthly scores and to talk more about new insights. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Have a good day.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Carl. Really interesting to hear that as well. And guys, that is almost 90 minutes right there, packed with employer branding insights and hopefully knowledge. Pär, just to get back to you, key insights, key takeaways for today.
Well, there's a lot, and it's a stacked 90 minutes. But I mean, to hear a company such as Astra with their size talking about better ask for forgiveness than permission is just simply inspiring. Hearing Blocket talk about their love affair and the foundation of it being trust. Also, Patrik Arneson, Svante Randlert, always inspiring to talk to them and with them, and just to back it all up with the data, as Carl did from Winnington. Really, really interesting.
Yeah. I certainly do agree, and we do hope, guys, that this summit has added value, obviously, to you and your team. And as we always want to improve for you guys, we will be sending out a 2-minute survey shortly after this. And if you do reply, you will automatically be part in the raffle of the Culture Code and Svante's The Dream Employer. So all you have to do is really to get back on that survey. We would very much appreciate it. And our Oddwork team, they will be sending out a summary and a link to a recording of this summit. We will also make sure to include Blocket's remote playbook in that somewhere. So it will be sent out in a couple of days. A big thank you to everyone helping us out today, from our amazing Oddwork team and all the speakers, and of course you, all our guests. My name is Charles Sinclair, and together with Pär and Karimi, it has been our pleasure to guide you through this afternoon together, and we are looking forward to see you on the next Employer Branding Summit. Thank you very much, guys. Stay safe and see you soon again.
Thank you.
Bye.